Greetings, fellow members of Synod. My name's David Ford. I'm from the Coffs Harbour Parish. Myself, along with Father Darrell, who is our rector, would like to try and outline for you the whole idea of what the Model 2, now known as networking, is in the restructure. We are in the Coffs Harbour restructure group. That includes the area of Sawtell, Wonville, and also the Northern Beaches, formerly known as Woolgoolga, and the Coffs Harbour Parish. The idea of the network is that it would enable us to, for the first couple of years between 21 and 22, to work and retain our whole structure the way it is currently, but underlying that, from 23 onwards, it would allow us to more engage with the parishes that I've already spoken about, that's Sawtell and also Woolgoolga. The whole idea of the network is that it will enable each parish to retain its own identity, plus it will also allow for us to explore and look forward to the opportunity of working with the other parishes.
I think one of the things that's worked for us, or is working for us in this regard, is being what COVID-19 has forced us to do, and to move into doing things in quite different ways. And so I suspect that there'll be some openness to doing things that tries to make us more effective and bringing us together in some ways collectively as well. So I think that that's an interesting one. Where the parish is, I don't think it fully understands what networking means as yet. To be perfectly honest, I don't think the three centres of ourselves, Coffs and Northern Beaches actually has a clear picture of what the network will mean and how in fact we can work our three centres within the network at this stage. That, I think, is going to be one of the key things that will be on our plate in the coming months. One of the things that I would want to say is that it's important to understand that a network isn't a takeover by any one congregation within the group. It's simply a group of people coming together, or a group of congregations rather in this instance, coming together and saying how together can we be more effective than we are apart. The truth is, in one sense, in any location there's only one church, it's God's church. No one of us is that church, and how we can learn to function together so that we're more effective as that church, God's church I mean, then the better it is. So how is it understood? I'm not sure that it's clearly understood at this stage. We've certainly gone through it at a parish council level and talked about what the model could mean.
Hi Synod, Father Darrell here. I just wanted to share with you some of the things that I am seeing as positives, as well as some of the challenges that we'll face as we come together in this network going forward. First of all, I want to say that there's been a general feeling of positiveness as I've talked to the other leadership teams, as the other ministers in the three parishes of the network. We genuinely see that there will be good opportunities for us to work together as we go forward. And some of to give you an idea of some of the things that we've talked about and discussed as options as we move forward, things like working together to have joint training and discipleship of our people, of our LLMs. There's opportunity for us to pool resources so that we can come together for those sorts of days. There's an opportunity, I think, for us to have things like joint Bible studies and things like that, where we can get our people interacting together, getting to know each other, and genuinely seeing us as Anglicans of the Coffs coast, not just Anglicans at St John's in Coffs Harbour or Northern Beaches or at Sawtell Bonville. We want to be able to see ourselves as Anglicans, as Christians in this part of the world, working together for God's kingdom. We acknowledge as we come together and begin this journey, and we are only just beginning, that we're in a very significant growth area in this part of the world. And we see great opportunity in that for us as well, as we look to work together for God's kingdom in the future. We've talked about opportunities to bring our parishes together for social events and things like that, but we've also talked about sharing resources in the future when opportunity might arise for us to plant new congregations or new Christian communities in this part of the world. And acknowledging that each of us as parishes bring our own strengths as well as our own weaknesses. So we acknowledge that we can work together and take the best from each other and pull that. One of the key strengths for me, and I think for the other leaders that I've spoken to, is that the parishes maintain our autonomy. So we continue to be discrete ministry units. We're individual parishes seeking to work together. And that's important because we maintain our identity and we maintain our tradition and our history, and we maintain our ability to make our own decisions as parishes for what is best for us. We will need to consider how it affects others around us, but we should be doing that anyway. However, in being honest, we need to understand that strength in autonomy is something that can be a weakness for us as we go forward into the future as well, because we need to acknowledge that we, as individual parishes, with our own individual leadership, there's opportunity for conflict and misunderstanding and differences of understanding of theology and other issues, which could cause issues with this model. So we just need to be aware of that. It's not a problem that we see in the immediate future. The current leadership in the parishes are all on board. We're trying to do our best to work together, and we acknowledge that for the vast majority of things we're on the same page. But it is something that we need to be aware of as we go forward.
Combined social events, Bible studies, planting new churches and so on, congregations rather, are going to be some of the things that will find their way to the surface in the coming months as we start to work as a network. As I think I mentioned in my first answer to the second question, my first reply, we're going to be learning in the first instance, both from our own point of view as well as the others, what are the resources that do exist within the network. That'll be in terms of human resources, that'll be in terms of material resources, financial resources, and what in fact can those resources be turned to, before we go to that, what are the needs that then exist across the same area, and what kind of priority do we then take in terms of those needs, and where do we turn those resources that we've looked at to in meeting those needs? Where do we find resources outside ourselves, because it may well be that we need something that we don't yet have, and if we're looking, for example, at planting new congregations, that may well be the case. For example, for us in Sawtell, Bonneville is on the route of the rail system, with the bypass being theoretically put in place for the Pacific Highway going around Coffs Harbour, which will mean that Bonneville's going to see if that goes as they plan, some significant development in coming years, which then says Bonneville's going to be an area that conceivably ought to have some work put into it in developing ministry and presence in that area. Now, at present, that isn't the case. But that's the kind of thinking and planning that's going to need to take place down track as we start to look about, well, where do we go, how can we do it, and so on. But as I say, it'll need to be in that kind of way, I think, that it'll look at, well, what are the resources that we have, what are the needs that present, and probably we could ask ourselves, what are we doing well at the moment, as well as not doing so well too, probably, and begin to correlate those and say, okay, where do we marry these and how, and in what way can we be a support and resource to one another in doing it?
During our discussions in our restructure meetings, we recognise that there will be some challenges for both lay and ministers. But hey, look, we're Anglicans, we can overcome those things, and we look forward being able to work with each other, opening up new experiences. Because quite frankly, one of the things that I'm sure you will all be aware of is that many of us don't know who the Anglicans are in the other parishes. A network situation will allow us all to meet together, will allow our people in the op shops to talk to each other, and who knows where we can go from here. I think the whole concept, from my perspective, of a network is really quite an exciting time. It'll allow each parish to remain autonomous, but it will allow us all to be together as one in the Diocese of Grafton.
Overall, I want to say that we're excited about this model. We're excited that we get to work together as Anglicans across the Coffs Coast, and we're excited to learn from and grow with our brothers and sisters in Christ from our neighbouring parishes.